Hello, today I would like to express some opinions I have on the current school system in Norway. So, a little backstory. I spoke with my father and I had an eye-opening conversation around Christmas break. So, I admire my father because he is a extremely practical man and he is a working iron, meaning he's working like a horse or a ox, you could say. He is quite he's quite practical. So he currently is running a special car mechanic shop, you could say. And he's been running this for, I believe, 15 years. However, he's also that time built a house, no, two houses. So he's basically worked as a carpenter, unlicensed carpenter. And he is also educated as an electrician, and he has worked as an electrician for 16 years. And during those 16 years, he had to walk into all sorts of official buildings, such as hospitals, churches, the town hall, for example, not to mention schools. And this means that he usually met a lot of people, unusual people, for example, psychiatric patients, people in hospital, people in the church, priests, for example, but also children, because he met a lot of children working in the schools, right? Because they were working during the day as the same time as the children had class. This makes sense, of course. And you see, there's one special class I have in mind here, and that is workshop or shop class. So my father told me something that kind of got me a little bit frightened. He said that during those 16 years, he could count on two hands, meaning less than 10 instances where he actually interrupted a shop class in session. What does that mean? Basically, shop class are not being held as often as it used to be. See, when my father was a kid and went to school, he had a metalworking class as well as woodworking class. He was carving and shaping wood and metals with tools. And it didn't stop there. He also had food classes. They were making food. They were learning how to be basically a human and using tools, being practical and solving solutions. Basically, they learned the 4 steps to a trade, which in my opinion is quite useful. This book, called Functional Training by Sinicki, is a great philosophy on how to quit this sedentary lifestyle and actually gain an active one. And he also has a YouTube channel. I highly recommend it. It's called the Binoeer. Now, the kids today, they are learning on iPads. Not only in home, but they also get it in school. So they're actually learning mathematics and courses on an iPad in Norway now. And it is an innovative way to integrate technology into the school system, but it does make you lose something. It has its consequences, such as lack of motor skills from just writing with your hand when you're solving equations. And also, you're looking at the screen the whole day. Static blue light, it cannot be good to your daily cycle. I mean, you're putting a strain on your eyes by looking at the screen all day, right? And when you have an iPad, very few of the classes will ever be taken outside. See, in elementary school, it doesn't really matter because you're just learning basic arithmetic mathematics. Anyway, you're not learning integrations, right? You're not learning advanced stuff. So you're learning arithmetic mathematics. You might as well, you could have the class outside. You could go outside and count leaves and make subtractions, multiplying, to actually teach the kids properly how we can apply mathematics to the real world. And see, when you don't do this, you get inactive children. You get a sedentary lifestyle in the whole of society, where people simply want to go from one ventilated box called a house to another one called the office, through a middle box called a car, and they're all properly heated, exactly the same temperature. You're never challenged, you're just simply too comfortable. But when you're lacking challenges, you get an underdevelopment of motor skills, as well as lack of confidence in the real world. Not to mention you don't know how to use tools or actually build something with your hands, because that would be challenging. You would go out of your comfort zone to actually do those things. But we're living in a sewing pillows under the armpit society right now. Yeah. See, if you get the kids to go outside and play during a class, not only will they actually learn the stuff, they will, well, as long as they have a good teacher who actually assembles the class sometimes and teach them what to do and give them tasks, so on and so on, they will explore the environment. They will build relationships and they will deepen their connection to the environment. Not only that, they will also gain valuable experiences. Oh, and with the deepening of the experiences, deepening of the connection to the environment, they will most likely not pollute, because if you really know an environment, you don't want to see that destroyed, usually. So those people will most likely not pollute or litter later in life. But the people who didn't have the chance to actually get that connection, they are more prone to littering because they simply don't care about the environment. Part 3. Become everything and nothing at the same time. So, in the school system today, they have a lot of useful classes, such as writing, reading, mathematics could be useful, language classes, as well as social aspects, like you're making friends and you have a rhythm you're following along with the other children and teachers. You have lunch break at the same time and you gain a social circle with friends. This is great. However, schools are supposed to make you ready for society. They are supposed to make you integrate into society. Now, they do lack some essential classes, such as how to become a good leader, how to handle your emotions. I think this is a necessary thing. How to pay taxes. Yeah, see, after you're finished with elementary school, you're usually only qualified for more school. And after that school, you're only usually qualified for university. You can also go into a trade school, but at this point, you will become really good at this trade if you stick with it, of course, but you could have become an exceptional master if you started even earlier. See, the latest a child should start learning to become a master at, for example, Japanese carpentry, a highly specialized skill which you build houses without using nails. They make exceptional houses from the roughest architectural drawings, and the latest age a child should start learning at is 7 years old. The reason why is because this is when the neuroplasticity of the child's brain is at its highest. Neuroplasticity is how much the brain can adapt to new experiences and learn from them. And children have this is extremely high. An example of a modern case of a child actually specializing in a skill and a trade or a sport would be Magnus Carlsen, as he started playing chess at age 5. Well, he was introduced to chess at age 5, which is a perfect age, in my opinion, to be introduced into a sport. And he stuck with it because his father was interested in chess, and he became an exceptional master at chess. One could argue he is maybe the greatest chess player of all time, at least top 3. So instead, a child could learn, for example, carpentry from, let's say, the father. If the father was a master carpenter, like in Japan, the child would start learning carpentry from a very young age, and it would be highly motivated, as children like to imitate their parents. And what would happen then is that the child and the parent would get this special bond. And this special bond is unfortunately lost in some of the Western societies, because the children are being sent away from the parents, and the parents go off to some corporate job and make this artificial thing called money. To the children, this money could come from anywhere. They don't really have an concept of why this is important. All they know is that they probably are missing their parents, and they are kind of getting this disconnection between the parent and the kid. So every parent out there, please hang out with your children, bring them to your work if you're able to. This would strengthen the bond between the parent and the child, in my opinion. So my point is that if you were to have specialized in a trade, sport, or skill from an early age, you would have an enormous advantage over people who has learned exactly the same stuff as everybody else, which you do if you go through the school system, because every kid is in the same classroom with the same curriculum. The only individual difference in the classroom is that some individuals learn the material better than other ones, and these are the ones that are sought after. By specializing from an early age in, for example, a trade, a skill, or a sport, you would be set up for life because you would have something that nobody else would have. You could rely on this to start your own business, or you would be highly sought after because people know that you're the only one who is doing this stuff. The world would be colorful and full of mastery and skill, and I would love it to the highest degree. Part 4. The number of ADHD diagnoses has increased dramatically. Now, ADHD is a touchy subject because many people have it, and if you're watching this video, you might have this diagnosis. So, I want to make it perfectly clear that I'm not trying to talk away anybody's symptoms. What I am challenging is the diagnosis itself, the label ADHD, and the consequences of what happens when you have this label as a developing child. First of all, I would like you to take a look at these two graphs. These are official numbers over the number of ADHD diagnoses in Norway. The first one is for boys and the second one is for girls. Pay attention that the bottom graph in the age group 0 to 5 shows a static close to 0% value. This means that when the children are in kindergarten, they are not being picked up for ADHD. But as soon as they hit the school bench, the numbers spike up. This first article I would like to discuss is promptly named ADHD Country. Why? Well, it happens that women aged 10 to 40 has had an increase in ADHD diagnoses of 80% between the years 2018 and 2022. I would like to quote a psychologist from this article named Espen Ivdås. He says, "The signs of what is typical ADHD are so massive. If you have the symptoms, regardless of the cause, you can experience getting the diagnosis." He believes that the development shows that society is in the process of morbidizing the normal. He believes that normal phenomena such as difficulty concentrating and a lack of attention are too rarely seen as a natural adaptive reaction to various stress factors that affects everyone's lives. As long as you don't know what the cause of the problem is, the diagnosis itself will not add any knowledge to that you don't already have. The problems will be the same. So, in this second article, we are meeting this head psychiatrist. She is currently ringing the alarm bells because she has noticed a concerning trend in the ADHD community. She estimates she has diagnosed over 500 people with the diagnosis ADHD. However, she felt like when she started out in this business that each case was giving the time and attention that they deserved. However, in recent times, people have now, it feels more like a diagnosis factory, like just send out the diagnosis and next one come in. She talks about how ADHD medicine doesn't just work on the patients, but at an estimated 80% of us. We are talking about performance enhancing drugs. You get a legitimate drug that makes you sharper and perform better, but we are talking about an A preparation, a narcotic substance. So I would like to repeat what I mentioned earlier. It is the label I want to challenge, not the symptoms itself. See, the people who really need this diagnosis, who really do need these medications, because they inherently have a difficulty, lack of concentration and short attention spans, maybe coming from genetics, for example, these people will now have an even difficult time getting this diagnosis and these medications, as the medical system is overloaded with people who are simply going through maturity, as every child should do. There will be times in your growing up where you are difficulty concentrating or not able to follow a class. This is simply a fact of life. Yet there is a huge incentive for actually getting this diagnosis, as it opens doors to, for example, medication, which is a performance enhancing drugs. And how the current school system works is that there is a huge incentive for getting good grades, meaning that if you take these drugs, you will get these grades. But that will also affect the people who don't have this diagnosis, as now they have to fight an even harder battle to get these higher grades. Part 5. Conclusion. If you made it this far into the video, I would like to express my sincerest thank you. So thank you so much for watching. Hopefully I haven't given you the most negative side on the school system. That's not my point. My point is simply to showcase some of the consequences of how it is currently doing, the modern school system. I'm not looking to blame anyone here, especially not the teachers. See, the school system is a product of politics, and politics are again a product of society, and society is simply changing. It is adapting to the modern world. It is just how it is. But there are certain consequences, and here are some of them. These have been based on my personal opinion and some sources I found online, so take it with a little bit of a grain of salt. But if you are interested in researching some of my topics, then I urge you to do your own research. Thank you so much.